Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of the Grandstand here on the Hot Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, Eric the Hot Patriot, and for today's episode, we are going to talk about how the left is now openly committing terrorism and why they need to be arrested to stop the Civil War from breaking out at this point in history. Which I'm not even so sure that the arrest would actually stop the Civil War from breaking out at this point. I think we've already gone past the point of no return is what it would be at this point in history. The, demarcation line that would actually have stopped it many, many years ago that needed to be enacted probably about 2018, give or take. And I think we're about 8 years past that time period right now is what it is. I think it's just a matter of time right now before it just goes hot is what it is right now. So we're also going to do a breakdown of what potentially a Second American Civil War would look like in this country, as well as potential color revolutions, a tribalistic war, or race war, if you will, etc., etc. So basically, this all stems from about the last week or so now, where you had that woman Renee Good get herself killed in Minneapolis, Minnesota area over trying to defend a bunch of Somali terrorists and illegal aliens and try to ram ICE agents, obviously, with her SUV. They, of course, killed her in response, rightfully so, because she was literally trying to hit them at the time. Her stupid fucking cunt wife, Becca Good, encouraged it on video, where she said, "Drive, baby, driver." Of course, she ran into these fucking agents. And the fact that that woman's not been arrested at this point for accessory before and after the fact is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that there is now a $1.5 million plus GoFundMe going for the so-called children of Renee Good, where Rebecca Good would be the one getting the money, is absolute bullshit, given the fact that there's been a lot of discussion that's come out in the past couple of days now, where it was actually Becca Good who was actually the reason why Renee lost custody of her two older children, and she was actually burning these kids with cigarettes, supposedly is what it was, and probably would have lost custody of the third one too then, which it was interesting because when you look into the whole situation there, it was the youngest child who they enrolled in a charter school there in, I believe it was Minnesota, and the kid was legitimately, the school itself, being a charter school, was actually a leftist activist indoctrination center, where they were basically teaching the parents how to go out there and be leftist terrorists, is what it is then. So really, that school system needs to be held accountable to at this point, honestly. And every single one of these people should be arrested for very seditious conspiracy charges, what it is there too as well. I would say a lot of these leftist types actually that are doing this stuff should be getting hit with seditious conspiracy, just like they try to do with the January 6 people, even though in that situation it was a totally different story entirely. It was all a bunch of BS by the left. But in this case, when it comes to the left again, obviously in that case it was left trying to fuck over the right. In this case it would be the leftists themselves doing this stuff and then openly admitting to it is what it is there. Not to mention you have them now, arming up, if you will, is what it is there. And specifically what I want to talk about is the textbook definition of terrorism in this country and just in general what it is here. So if you go by the textbook definition of terrorism, it is the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims. And of course, a longer version of that is unlawful use of violence or threats of violence to create fear and achieve political, ideological, religious, and social goals, often targeting civilians or non-combatants to intimidate a population or coerce a government. Key elements include violence/threats, the intent to instill fear, a broader audience beyond immediate victims, and specific motives like influencing policy or destabilizing structures. This is exactly what I believe they're trying to do right now is what it is. And this is kind of why I believe what we're actually seeing right now isn't so much the beginning of a civil war, but it's basically a either deep state or it is a globalist like Soros, Rothschild, Rockefellers, etc. that we got Bilderberg. It's some kind of color revolution that they're basically trying to create right now is what it is, which makes sense logically when you speak about it, because when you look at their whole 2030 agenda and what they've been trying to do for decades now, what it is, that would basically, we've talked about this before, honestly, back in like 2020s, there's what it was, when it was around 2020, 2021, someplace in there, and they were talking about like the whole like oh, you'll own nothing and be happy and stuff like that. And it was basically like how they were going to achieve that goal is what it is. And I think this is kind of the beginning stages of that end game for them is what it is there. And so the issue there is when you have these crazy ass leftist people who are openly arming up and by text definition committing terrorism is what it is, or at least terroristic acts anyway, terroristic threats and stuff like that's what it is there. And they're not being arrested for it. Like, it really does, make you wonder. It kind of boggles the mind a little bit and being like, okay, so if they're not arresting them on these various crimes they're openly committing is what it is there, why not? Like, is it just because these agents are leftists too and they don't want to do their fucking job and actually arrest their own out of society is what it is? Or is it a situation where you just have people who we don't think are involved but are actually involved and are refusing to do their jobs and actually dealing with this criminality is what it is then? Because the problem that comes about all this right now is that the longer this shit goes on, the more it is becoming apparent that we are going to see a very, very bad deal go down is what it is right now. And that's why I honestly think like we're very much heading for a time period in history very soon where you're going to end up seeing like very, very, very bad mass violence in the streets is what it is there. And I think truthfully, if we want to break down what a civil war looked like in this country and potentially other things as well for that matter, you're going to end up seeing stupid people out there in the streets, or, basically pulling puppet strings, if you will, of the street level idiocy is what it is there. People like this fucking retarded cunt right here, who's probably like, I'd say 50s, give or take, where you got liberal influencer with over 15,000 followers says she's at the gun range training to quote-unquote kill mega fucks. Says more women were there and they're all training to kill mega. Or she was quoted as saying, today I was at the range, motherfucking mega fucks. You might think that we're out here just sitting around wondering what's going to happen, not worrying about shit. I know what's going to happen, fuck you. So the thing with this is, these stupid bitches like this, like, okay, so they're talking about going to the gun range and stuff like that, or you have other videos that have come out here, where, I saw another one here, I'm going to pull up in a sec here, where it is this other leftist woman. Yeah, it's this other leftist woman who supposedly gone to a range with one of the human-sized targets is what it is there. Where she's basically pointing to all the holes and being like, oh, look at this crafty hole punch I created. And it's like, yeah, you're just a dumb bitch is what it is, lady. And other people pointed out, like, some of the holes actually look like they're done with, like, a pencil or a pen or something like that is what it is. Which I wouldn't be surprised by it, honestly. And what's interesting, if you look at that, at the bottom there, it looks like there's several holes there as well. Like, if that is legitimately bullet holes, dude, this woman is fucking terrible at shit. The top ones there look like it's fucking... That does not look like bullet holes, honestly, dude. That doesn't look like somebody, like, took a pen or something and just, like, punched through a piece of paper is what it is there. So... But yeah, these people have no fucking clue. They have no fucking clue at all. And the fact of the matter is, they're openly getting to the fuck around and find out stage of life is what it is right now, because they don't realize how many people on the right side of history right now, number one, are combat vets in this country that have actually been in war, know what war looks like, can handle their shit, and are just looking for a reason to basically get back into the fucking shit as what it is right now and have been for years now. Number two, how many people out here that are armed civilians, that are right-wing people and stuff, that have hunted their entire lives, know exactly how to take down a game, know exactly how to track people, etc. there. And also on top of that, know how to mask their own scent, and also know how to camouflage into the surroundings and stuff, and can actually use long-range weaponry. Then you have just the everyday people out here that are, gun enthusiasts, gun owners, etc., that have been, practicing and been to ranges over the years and stuff like that. We got the muscle memory is what it is here. I'm talking about people like myself on that situation. And yeah, we're actually pretty good shot with both a handgun and a long gun for that matter. So, you know, the fact of the matter is these people have been to a range maybe once or twice in their entire lives. People like myself have been there, for years is what it is. And then, people that are above my, experience level in life have been there for decades in many cases. So, yeah, I don't think people realize like the can of worms are trying to open right now is what it is, man. Because when they do, like, it's going to be a big slap in the face at them. Like, honestly, I would not be surprised at least to see something where it's a situation where you would have like a bunch of these retarded. It would kind of be something similar to what happened in Dayton, Ohio, back in 2019. There, where it was like that fake gathering of a bunch of white supremacist people that was like 9 feds or whatever, basically. And then you had like all these leftists come out there, various terrorist organizations like the Black Panthers and BLM, etc. There is what it was. And then like you had just everyday people like the Quakers and shit like that out there. And then you just had a bunch of raging ass leftist types, what it is in general. And then it was funny because there were several interviews being given to these like Black Panther terrorist types, is what it is there. And they're like, "Oh, why is there various police snipers on the roof up there pointing their guns at us?" It's like, I don't know, because you have a fucking gun yourself, dumbass. Maybe it's because you're openly out there committing terrorist shit, is what it is there. And inciting violence against the civilian population would be there just because people want to have a fucking gathering, is what it is. And are exercising their First Amendment rights, is what it is there. So, anyway. But yeah, and the reason I bring up that specific one as well is because, for those who don't know, the piece of shit leftist Antifa terrorist type that committed the Dayton massacre in 2019, Connor Betts, was actually at that rally event on the side of the left, is what it is there. So, ironically, they could have basically caught that kid before he committed his terrorist attack, like 4 or 5 months later, is what it was then. But unfortunately, Nan Whaley, being the dumb leftist baby-killing cunt that she is, an anti-gun piece of shit, refused to actually deal with these leftist terrorists the way they need to be dealt with, and have them arrested. And so, piece of shit was able to do his terrorist attack months later, is what it was. And then, of course, what did Nan do immediately after that was call for fucking gun control, is what it was then. So, anyway. But yeah, I really think we're in a situation right now where you're going to see a lot of these leftist people fuck around and find out very quickly, because first of all, what they don't realize is paper doesn't shoot back. People do. So that's number one. Like, I think that's the thing. Like, whenever you see like a lot of these like home invasions and stuff like that from a lot of these like YN types and stuff like that, like they'll go in there like 3 or 4 deep or whatever, then maybe 6, 7 deep, depending on how many is in their crew, is what it is there. And then literally as soon as one of the homeowners opens fire on their asses, they just run out like a bunch of little bitches, what it is. I think that's exactly what we'd see with a lot of these leftist types, where it's like, as soon as the first, head canoeing happens from like a sniper rifle or something like that from somebody else, and like one of their little comrades goes down, like they're just going to scatter like fucking roaches with this dude. So, and I could easily see something like that happening where you have like 3 to 8 right-wing people on like various rooftops and stuff like that. And it would be kind of like the Purge almost situation. Or like, what was that one? Was it Purge Anarchy or was it Purge Election Year? I think it was Purge Anarchy, I want to say. It was the one with the random guy on top of the roof with the scoped rifle and then his like 6-pack or whatever, like waiting for people to come by, is what it is there. I think that's kind of what you would see a lot of, is what it is. And by the way, I think that's also what we would see somewhat of it to be as well, would be the problem with any of these various people right now is that they don't realize, like, it's not going to be something where everybody is on the same side or whatever, dude. Like, you're eventually going to have infiltrators, what it is, on both sides of what it is there. And that's why I think what you're going to end up having is you're going to have a lot of friendly fire death, is what it is, during the situations, is what it is there for any kind of Second American Civil War or anything else for that matter. And so basically what we're going to end up seeing is you're going to have various people dress up in, the Don't Tread on Me hats or MAGA hats or American flag shirts, whatever it is there, like acting like, oh yeah, I'm part of your side or whatever the case be, and then they end up killing a bunch of people on the right, what it is there or something. And the same thing with the left, you're gonna have people being like, oh yeah, what's up, comrade? And they got like their little hammer and sickle fucking, vest on, whatever it is there. And then they just smoke an entire platoon of these leftists, what it is then, dude. So, but yeah, I can definitely see stuff like that happening as like a boots on the ground kind of situation, but I can also see stuff happening too where a lot of these people just never see it coming because it ends up being like a Charlie Kirk situation where you just have somebody on the fucking rooftop and then they just, snuck somebody out of nowhere is what it is then. And so I could totally see that happening on both sides of history is what it is there, where you have some deranged leftist type that has been, ingrained with, shooting culture, if you will, since they were a child, knows how to shoot, etc. there. And then not only that, but you also have like the ability to like do like the slide things like that guy has, what it is, where you can easily line up a good shot is what it is there. Versus, people that are right wing types and stuff like that, or even like middle of the road types and stuff like that as well, that don't want either side to basically don't really go fuck with either side is what it is there. Where they're obviously like a small X factor is what would be there as well, and they would just be like, no, fuck you both is what it is. And so it would be like this whole hullabaloo where nobody would really be safe. I think it would more turn into a purge situation very quickly is what it is there. However, that being said, if it would be a legit like globalist color revolution kind of situation too, that's a different story altogether, because then you would definitely have funding from outside is what it is there. That's where you'd have more of the X factors of your, Chinese, Islamic terrorism, every other country basically at this point. India would be another one as an X factor, etc. in that situation. I think you'd have a lot of terrorist cells created at that point. Or not, sorry, not created. You would have a lot of Islamic terrorist cells being activated at that point in history then, where they would do a bunch of damage and stuff. Then, of course, if it is like a legit civil war, I think what could easily happen is you just have a bunch of these leftist nuts try to fuck around, and it basically is about 3 days later, most of them are dead right now is what it would be then in that scenario. And then it would be from there is where you would basically see like a tribalistic warfare start to kick off what it is there. And it would be like various people of various groups coming together. You have a bunch of Indians form together. You have a bunch of Islamic terrorism form together what it is there. And activating kind of slipper cells they would have going on what it is. You would have all kinds of other X factors, etc. there. A bunch of Chinese foreign nationals grouping up together, etc. there. And so I could easily see that being more what happens then. And then, of course, you would also have really a possibility as well in that situation of it being a racial holy war is what it would be then, where it would not only be a race war, it would also be a holy war, where it would be like Islam versus, a bunch of other people at that point, whether it be Buddhists, whether it be Christians, whether it be Hindus, whether it be Jews, etc. And who's to say that all those groups wouldn't, form together as an alliance versus Islam is what it is then. So, or they might just infight with each other is what it is there as well. So yeah, it could definitely be a real bad situation very quickly. But any way you slice it, I don't think anyone's going to be really good is what it is. And that's why I think, honestly, the easiest solution right now would be for the federal government to do its fucking job and just start arresting these leftist terrorists out of society is what it is there and putting them away where they belong is what it is then. Because it really is time for these people to just learn consequences in their lives. And that's the problem with so many of these fucking dumbass, retarded women is what it is right now. They're especially these leftist types that have never had any consequences at all in their entire lives. And so they think they're bulletproof, and what they're realizing is they're not. And it's interesting to me because there was I forget what that one woman's name is. She's like some right-leaning person or whatever there. Like a brunette woman or whatever. She looks like she probably like has some kids or whatever. I think she just has some kids if I'm not mistaken. I believe I've seen it's like an MRC or something that uses like part of her thing before. Maybe that was like the group that she was with or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, she was it was a video of her talking the other day about the whole thing, and she was explaining how a lot of these like leftist type ladies is what it is there have the motherly instinct or whatever because they've had abortion stuff in their lives or can't have kids depending on where it is there. That they now have basically latched onto society and been like, oh, we need to protect the most vulnerable. And who's the most vulnerable? It's a bunch of illegal aliens, a bunch of third world scum that shouldn't be here in the first place. So it is there. And so they go to bat for these people that don't give two shits about it, is what it is there, and they get themselves killed like Renee Good did. And so the problem with that, all that is that explains the women, obviously. But what about these beta cuck men that are doing the same exact thing as what it is? Like I saw one yesterday where it was this leftist ginger guy who had gone from Wisconsin to, I believe it was Minneapolis, to some like random taco restaurant or something, what it was there, some Mexican restaurant there. and was basically like, I'm here to protect the illegals that might be working here. And it's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, go back to the nut house where you belong is what it is. And that's what I personally think is what it really is. I don't think it's really motherly instinct for the women there is what it is. I think in most cases, whether it be women or men on the left, there is what it is. It's these people that are just completely out of their fucking minds. So it is there. They've either taken one or more of the COVID shots and is now mentally deranged because of that, or they have been on psych drugs before that, and that's basically fuck with their brain chemistry too, is what it is then. And so their brains are not functioning the way they need to be, and so they're not really brain dead per se, but their brain chemistry has been like switched into such a way where it's now just like a chemical based release mechanism, if you will, that has put them in a situation where they are messed up as what it is then. So, and they're not thinking clearly as what it would be then, which is exactly why they shouldn't be out in public society is what it is here now. And they should be in a mental institution where they belong is what it is then. And I feel like all this could have been dealt with, like I said, about 7-8 years ago, back in 2018 or 2019 when Trump was president. And they just did forced mental institutionalization of these leftist types and throw them in the rubber room so they belong is what it is there. And a lot of this could have easily been fixed then is what it is. But unfortunately that happened, and now we just have lunatics running the asylum, 7-8 years later is what it is now. So, and I think another one with the whole, mega thing is when that piece of shit ex-Congressman Tim Ryan, who was running for Senate at the time in 2022, had he been arrested for his terroristic comments about killing MAGA at that time, that could have ended shit immediately as well, too, for that matter. Because you would have had an actual sitting congressman finally learn, like, yeah, you can't incite violence and get away with it, motherfucker. And instead, now we have pieces of shit like Jasmine Crockett, 3-some-odd years later, openly committing incitement of violence, like almost every day she's in office right now is what it is, especially against white people here in America. Like I was actually trying to do a breakdown of the timelines, what it is for last year. And from what I figured out, this bitch openly at least 6 times, probably more than that actually, but at least 6 times that I can directly give like dates to basically, where she openly incited violence against white Americans because she's a black supremacist piece of shit, what it is there. And then not only that, but then it was right after Charlie Kirk's assassination. You had Crockett on MSNBC, I believe what it was, with, I want to say that woman's name is Tiffany, but I could be wrong about that one. It's whoever the host is at that time, whatever, that she was on with. That woman was openly encouraging these leftists to become armed, quote-unquote, resistance, what it is there, and was basically telling them to become leftist terrorists at the time. And then you literally had Crockett sitting next to her on the panel there, or like whatever the, like I think it was a different location that she was in, so it would have been her like icon or whatever up there. You just have Crockett being like, and it's like right then and there, you should have had both the MSNBC host and Jasmine Crockett arrested for inciting terrorism is what it is then. And the fact that they weren't is exactly what the problem is in this country right now is what it is. Because it's just leading us down a pathway to bad shit is what it is then. So, but yeah, I think we're definitely going to see, I think we're definitely about to see some like real bad shit, dude. So, but yeah, I really think, I honestly really do think that we're just gonna see like some serious shit happen right now. Oh, so apparently going back to that Wall Street Apes thing, I was just going through the comment section there, and they said there were 15K followers that the woman had originally, and then somebody here said try 14K. Yeah, political DEI, real estate brokerage owner. Jesus. Like, she has the Antifa in her fucking bio, dude. Like, good God. Dude, and again, this is my problem with Trump in general, is like, if this dude wanted to be a true president, like, You declare the Antifa a terrorist organization, dude. Go arrest these motherfuckers that are backing them is what it is then. Like, slap them all with just conspiracy charges, seriously. Hit them with just conspiracy, hit them with terrorism, hit them with everything at that point then. And just start mass arresting these motherfuckers. And take them off the board completely is what it is there. Same thing with BLM for that matter, dude. Like, you do, like, 2 declarations that include mass arrests, and you take these entire groups off the fucking board in, like, 5 minutes is what it is then. Now, granted, it would probably take military intervention because you would need that many military guys involved to do the arrests. But, you know, if you did them like a slow, like, week or 2 long thing is what it is then, I think there'd probably be enough law enforcement that would be able to be tapped and stuff like that and be, you know, cross-deputized as federal agents at the time, whatever the case be, for federal task forces and stuff like that. Where you can probably take a much more than what it is there. So it just all depends right now how they want to play this game and what it is. So, and I say game because obviously it is basically a chess game at this point, I think, really. Or it could be like chess versus checkers, what it is there. Because like I said, with some of these people, they're just like, oh, well, let us go to the range today or whatever the case for the first time. And it's like not realizing that there's some dude who's been there, you know, 10,000 times before that. So, yeah, I think these people are delusional at best. They're mentally ill at worst, obviously. They need serious psychological help is what it is there, man. They're just not getting their help they need is what it is then. And so I think that's why we're going to see political violence very soon in this country. And like I said before, and I will say it again, I'll double down on this one, dude. I believe we are definitely going to see some kind of assassination attempts against political figures this coming election cycle in the next few months. Here's what it is. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to start in the next 30 days, honestly. But I could easily see it being both real and fake for that matter, depending. Where you might have like 1 or 2 that are psyops that become like real ones is what it is then. Like the first one might be like a psyop of some kind or whatever, or it's just like, you know, some leftist or some right wing or whatever the case be targets themselves, like knowing they're going to survive because the person that they, you know, had to do it or whatever is like, it was like meant to like shoot, you know, 10 feet to the left or whatever it is there or something. And it would be like a pot shot order being taken at them. Versus then you would actually have like real ones kick into place then. And so from where I'm sitting right now, I think what we'd end up seeing is you'd have like a Vivek type or whatever the case be, fake one against themselves a little bit is there. Maybe like a Byron Donalds or something like that, because I know they're going to lose those governor's races what it is there. And so you'd have them try that shit or whatever in the next like month or 2 is what it is there. And then from there, you would see some leftists do the exact same thing, whether it be running for a governor's race, whether it be, you know, some kind of political office. Like let's go ahead and say like like a Jacqueline Benson up there in Michigan who's running for governor there and is already a criminal Secretary of State currently is what it is there. Like I can see her basically using those first ones to basically pull on herself. That's what it is there. Or maybe it would be in reverse of that. Maybe it would be the left in themselves and then blaming the right, and then the right having it happen to them for real is what it is or something. So either way, I see something happening where it's like some rhino or some leftist or whatever doing it first, and then it becomes like real ones after the fact. So it'll be then, because you just have some deranged nut then realize like, okay, it's open season now, whatever the case be. Or it could even be too for the fact that we know that, you know, the MK Ultra mind control is just out there. So it could actually just be, you know, government just doing the phrases to the agents and stuff like that, and activating their agents would be then to go to these things. So there's a lot of X factors that could be tapped right now is what it is, and that's the scary part right now. Like, even with my autistic mind, like, this is just me throwing out scenarios right now is what it is, dude, and what I think could happen, honestly. I have no clue if it's going to happen or not, honestly. I hope it doesn't, honestly, personally. But, you know, just me being able to think of those scenarios what it is there, like, that's me as one guy versus, you know, there could be like 1,000 guys in various clandestine government agencies right now, whether it be CIA, DIA, whatever ones we don't know about, there are black site ones and stuff like that. Like just thinking up this shit or doing like computer algorithms and stuff like that with this stuff, being like, okay, what are the chances that we activate these, you know, 15, 20 guys or whatever the case be, or 15, 20 gals even for that matter, and then they just tap all these people or whatever the case be and just do their computer, analysis stuff is what it is there. And then there's like this huge chance that it's actually successful is what it'd be then. Like, would I put it past deep state, actors out there to do that kind of stuff? Fuck no, I wouldn't put it past these people, dude. I mean, hell, when you had like a year or two ago, actually, I think it was about 2 years ago now, give or take. Because I want to say it was around 20. It was somewhere like beginning of middle of 2024, somewhere in there is what it was then, where you openly had a bunch of Democrats on the House floor then, giving this crazy long speech where they were openly discussing who their shadow government versions of actual Trump appointees would be for various positions like AG, et cetera, there. And how it was them basically running a deep state psyop, essentially, is what it is there, to install their fucking scumbag people in places, what it is then, if they could. And they were actually naming like who was going to be all these people, what it is there. It was like Jamie Raskin was one of them, and then it was like Schiff and a couple other people was what it was there. So, and then like a bunch of like baseline Democrats is what it is then for like other stuff. So yeah, I could easily see it in a situation like that where you just have like just like some crazy shit, man. So anyway, I'm gonna go back to that Wall Street Apes post though. I want to see what the comment section they were saying about that stupid Stacey woman then. So you got, being a liberal isn't just about being stupid, it's about showing the world how proud you are to be stupid. Yep, that's what Stacey is right now, dude. And we got this one, which is correct. Democrats are domestic terrorists. Got this guy saying, who that Stacey woman is, she's so tough. What she doesn't realize is more Trump supporters have more weapons than they do. So that, and see, that's kind of the misnomer too, as well as like the whole like, oh, more weapons equals more, knowledge, or whatever the case be. It's not always the case. If anything, the one man with one, handgun or one rifle, whatever it is, there knows more about that one weapon than anything is what it is, dude, because they've been training with it for so long. Is what it is. It's like the old Simo Haya thing. They got his White Death is what it is there in the Finnish military. That dude was such a skilled marksman with his bolt-action rifle that he was able to take down, it was something like, I forget if it was like 100 or if it was like 500, like various Russian snipers throughout that fucking war, dude. So, and it was to the point where they actually captured a couple of Russian people that they were celebrating with, or whatever the case be, is like their like sort of hostages or whatever the case be, and the Russian guys were all sad that they were going to get released because they knew that Seymour was going to kill their asses like a day or two later is what it was then. So they're like, no, please don't release us. We don't want to die. We want to be here with you guys. So, but yeah, it's funny because it's true, honestly. I'm pretty sure that those guys did eventually die in that war is what it was then. But yeah, like that dude was like crazy skilled marksman, which has one weapon there is what it was, because he literally shot it all the fucking time is what it is there. So, now granted, that being said, that's a one-off, obviously, but yeah, that's a great example of people that have been hunting their entire lives for like 20, 30, 40 years is what it is there, dude. When you go out hunting every single season, I mean, it was only a few times a day or a few times during that year, whatever the case be, like you're still throughout the year, practicing that skill set is what it is then. And whether it be with a firearm, whether it be with a bow, etc., like you're much better with that. Actually, now that we're talking about this, I want to bring up a discussion I was going to talk about the other day that I never got a chance to discuss when I was talking about the thing with my cousin during the scratch-off stream I did the other day with the lotto tickets and what it is there. So my cousin ended up going to Indiana last week with his buddy, who is they went to a trade show down there. It was for archery stuff, and apparently it was supposed to be for the various archery companies out there is what it is there. And it was basically an invite-only thing because it wasn't for the general public is what he told me, but because the dude that he was with was able to get him a ticket, that's why he was able to go with him is what it is there. And this old Asian dude who's like 65-ish or so, I think is what he told me, apparently this guy immigrated here to America, what it sounded like during Mao's regime, honestly, or right after Mao takeover there in China, and realized how much China sucked. That's what it is because of communism and stuff. Fully embraced America, fully immigrated to America, fully assimilated into America, and basically went on to live the American dream. This dude that he was telling me about actually helped create the Tomahawk missile for our military. He owns I think he told me 30 or 45 patents or something like that on various military weaponry stuff, what it is there. And apparently, from my understanding from my cousin, because this guy told him this apparently, and they were discussing it with some of the guys that were at the trade show, what it is there. I guess for about the last anywhere from 5 to 15 years now, our military has now been using archery to kill insurgents, is what it is. Because supposedly they created some kind of broadhead, some crazy sharp ass broadhead for the to put on the arrows on the bolts there. And what will end up happening is they'll go over to the Middle East or something like that. That's what it is. They need to take somebody out quietly. They'll literally just have one of these dudes that has this crazy fold up crossbow. They'll put one of these crazy bolts in the crossbow, and they'll just snipe this dude at 75 yards down or something like that. That's what it is then. And that way they can get away very quickly after the fact. Now do a firefight with the rest of the insurgents, what it is there. So yeah, they'll just take out some random dudes, what it is then, whether it be some leadership, whatever it is there. So, and that's another thing too, by the way, you bring in those kind of factors then too, where you got military using archery. So, I don't think it's going to work out well for these leftists, dude, if something does pop off, because we could easily just have military, sniping these people with fucking crossbows is what it is then, man. But anyway. But yeah, it's just crazy stuff, man. And like I said, it's things you don't really think about like that, right? Who would have ever thought, you'd use a crossbow in 2025, 2026 is what it is there for military, assassinations is what it is there. So it's yeah. And again, it would be a silent, bolt just going through the fucking air is what it is then. And there'd be no reverberation, there'd be no sound travel for them to pinpoint it back to wherever then on some ridge. So yeah, dude, I could easily see something like that being the case right now. I think honestly it would be similar to with the Mel Gibson movie The Patriot, where it would be one dude with a skill set versus a whole platoon of people or whatever then. And they just have no clue where that person is, and they just, taking the various shots from various spots what it is then. And then, God forbid, you bring suppressors into the mix and stuff like that, dude, that can actually, muffle the shot a little bit is what it is then. So, yeah, I think these, basically the way I look at it is a lot of these leftist people that are trying to talk a lot of shit right now, let's say, right here is, tier 1, or you're just starting out, and down here is tier 20 or whatever, where you got to get further down to be more expertise is what it is there. These people are way the fuck up here where they need to be way the fuck down here is what it is there. And that's anywhere from several years of experience to several decades of experience that they're missing out on and have no clue because they basically know the basics about firearms what it is there. I actually had a good discussion with somebody in a comment section the other day because there's a movie that came out a few years ago that was based on the Australian mass shooting that the guy did there that basically led to, was a couple days after that, you had and I really think, and going back to psyops and stuff like that, I think that was definitely a fucking psyop in that situation, because when you saw how quickly the Australian political sphere there was to ban guns in that country, based on one attack by supposedly one nut is what it is there. It really makes you wonder, okay, was this dude not being, given the go-ahead to basically do this so that they could basically enact this gun control over there in that country? Because when you have something being done and then it's a couple days later, then all of a sudden it's shit's just an act is what it is. It's like, yeah, it seems very fucking suspicious what it is then. But what I was explaining to this dude was how there's a scene from that movie that's here on YouTube, and it's basically the actor portraying the guy is handed what's supposed to be an AR unloaded is what it is there. And you can tell it's not a real AR, though, because he pulls the trigger multiple times in a row without resetting it at all. And I'm like, that's impossible, because literally the first trigger pull, you'd have a dead trigger after that, because your hammer would then be at the back of your bolt and would never be reset as what it is then. And that's what I was trying to explain to this person. This, like, I was trying to be like, oh yeah, that would be impossible for him to do that, or whatever the case be. And I think it was the uploader or whatever came back to me a couple days later and was like, well, he was a nut. He could totally pull it a bunch of times. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, you clearly don't know about guns, because this is what would happen is what it is there. And like, was trying to basically, educate him in the fact that, like, yeah, it would be possible for this dude to do this, because you would literally have the hammer hitting the bolt and then not being able to be reset because there's no round to be fired off, and have the gases come back and reset the gun is what it is then, where you'd have to do the charging handle and reset it yourself is what it is then during every pull is what it would be then. And it's interesting because in that same scene, there's another part of it where they then go back to the back, and I think it's some kind of Daewoo 12 gauge or whatever that existed at that time in the 90s. There's what it was. And you can actually tell that was a legit Daewoo, because as soon as the guy pulled the trigger, you hear that exact thing of the hammer hitting the back of the bolt. That's what it is then. And then you actually either hear or you see him legitimately pulling back on the charging handle again to recharge it so the kid can try it out is what it is then. So, and this is the problem when people don't have that skill set or that knowledge of what it is there to know these things, because they are like the basic, top end is what it is there of just getting into the thing. And this is stuff I didn't know about, obviously, when I first got into, firearms ownership back in the day, which was, almost 8 years ago now is what it is. So, like, I knew the basics of guns. I just didn't know the exact, deal when it came to like ARs and stuff like that, about how, the whole gas system is what basically allows the gun to operate after the first shot is what it is then. So, and like, obviously you got the recoil and everything else like that, and the buffer and everything. So, but yeah, so it's a whole thing there. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I still don't know about when it comes to things like that. But, again, it's me as a gunner learning every single day is what it is right now. And I think that's the problem with a lot of society right now, is you have these people that are just trying to fuck around and find out what it is then, when in reality, if their gun goes down in that firefight, like, what the fuck are they going to do? They're going to be fucked with this then. Like, they have no clue how to fix that shit. I guarantee you, if you had something go down in this country where it was some kind of second American Civil War situation or whatever the case be, and it was some crazy leftist type with some gun, whether it be a handgun, a long gun, whatever the case be, and all of a sudden, let's say, like something basic fucks up in that gun. Like, let's say it was like a spring or something like that busts, or maybe it's like a firing pin breaks or whatever the case be on them, and they have no idea how that, would work, whatever the case be. It would be an operable firearm at that point, obviously, because of that. They would have no clue how to fix that shit if they survived that battle. So, and that's why I feel like in a lot of cases, what you're going to end up seeing for a lot of people actually across the board right now would be battlefield pickups. What is there, where you would have legitimately, let's say that there is like a firefight or some kind of whatever the case be, and it's like one group versus another group, whatever the case be. You have, let's say, 10 people in each group basically, and you got the one group where maybe they lose one, and they got the other 9 still there is what it is. And you have the other group where it's like, let's say 10 leftists or whatever the case be, and you got 9 of them that get killed. And there's like one left that's then, killed after the fact or whatever the case be by whoever's left down on the other side. Let's say 2 or 3 of those guys on the right side that won that battle, let's say their guns go down. What are they going to do? Are they going to, just leave a bunch of weaponry sitting there? No, they're going to sit there. They're going to take 5 to 10 seconds and just grab up a new handgun, grab up a new rifle, whatever it is there. And they'll just take their old shit with them too, probably, is my guess, honestly. And then what you'll see eventually is you'll see this mishmash of various things where maybe somebody will take down a Like let's say somebody has, an AR and now they picked up somebody else's AR, whatever the case be, because let's go ahead and say again, like maybe their hammer broke, or maybe their, firing pin in their rifle broke, something like that's what it is there. So now you'll have interchangeable parts is what it is then, where they'll swap out, various lowers, various uppers, etc. there. And then they'll proceed to, redo the new weapon with their old systems, as what it is there, like whether it be a magnifier or just an optic, whatever it is. And now that'll be done on the new weapon is what it is then. And so it'll just be like this mishmash of stuff eventually is what it is there, where it's like Frankenstein guns in a lot of cases. So, but who knows, man? But yeah, I definitely see a lot of battlefield pickups happening in any kind of second American Civil War in this country, where it's like after the original, like the initial battle, whatever the case be, there's just people going around just picking up a bunch of stuff then, and either making it inoperable or just taking it as what it is then. Because that's another thing too, by the way, the whole like more guns equals more, firepower, whatever the case be. That's all well and good if you have, let's go ahead and say you have like 30 or 40 weapons that you can then handle like, 20 or 30 people, what it is then. But if you don't have that, and it's just you and like 30 guns or whatever the case be, like what the hell are you going to do with the other, 27 guns is what it is there? Because you can only carry X amount of weapon around you is what it is then. And that's what I think in a lot of cases what you'll have people do is they'll make inoperable firearms what it is then, whether it be, pulling book or group set of ARs, whether it be taking a 20 gauge into a 12 gauge shotgun, whether it be other stuff like that, honestly. Hell, whether it be taking a 300 blackout and putting it into a 5.56 and then just leaving it there as a, booby trap weapon is what it is then. And that's the thing. A lot of these people wouldn't realize that stuff, dude. And that's what really pissed me off when it came to the pullout we did in Afghanistan in 2021, or that piece of shit Biden there is what it was. Because they could have easily taken the time to make all those weapons inoperable as what it is then, through the exact means I just said right now is what it is. But instead they just left them there, and then you have the Taliban getting a hold of all that shit, and then they sold all that stuff off to various people, and now we're seeing a lot of that weaponry being used in the Ukraine and Russia war for the last couple of years now is what it is, or other various conflicts overseas there. So, yeah, just not cool entirely, bro. And that's why I think a lot of this shit is by design, honestly. It is just meant to be done. So, but anyway. Sorry, I'm just checking on my packages right now. I got a couple things that's just coming today is what it is. From the Amazon. Ordered some food, some various snack stuff from there the other day. It's supposed to be coming in. I'm assuming it'll be in boxes this time around, because I don't think they just throw a bunch of them in bags as what it is then. Like, I assume one will be a pretty decent sized box. It will probably be a smaller box as it is, and then maybe like a bag for the third thing. So, just depends. I don't know if it'll be the same chick as the other two times that was here last week, or it'll be somebody different then, because she was pretty cool. I'm actually surprised by her the other day when she came, because she was did not have a coat on in the rainstorm that was going through, and just handed me the stuff. I actually felt bad for her, but I also felt bad for myself because my boxes that she was handing me were being rained on then too. But anyway, which was not a big deal because they were able to get, it's just a couple droplets of rain. But either way, no interesting as it happens there is what it is. So. But yeah, I definitely see. I think the closer we get to springtime, then I think we're going to see a lot more political violence break out in this country. And like I said, I would not put it past leftists at this point to, or even just other government, deep staters and stuff like that, to stage like various terror attacks and stuff, or various political assassinations, shit like that's what it is there, and then have that stuff turn into real ones that it is then. So again, it just all depends on what we're actually seeing right now. If it's going to be an actual potential civil war, if it'll be a color revolution or something else for that matter. It just all depends, man. But I think we're definitely in for a bad time ahead for sure is what it is right now. And I don't know. I'm fucking over it is what it is, man. I think a lot of people are too for that matter. Like, we're all just sick and tired of it. And really, it's just time people shut the fuck up is what it is, or shit, or get off the pot is what it is then. So, and I definitely think like a lot of the stuff we're going to see right now, especially when it comes to old military guys and stuff like that, it's going to be something similar to this patch right here, where it is too old and broken to run, we'll shoot instead. And that's another thing too, by the way, that I do want to discuss before we leave today, is I think a lot of these leftists don't realize like what nods even are. Or like the fact that people have like armed civilians have like a lot of that stuff, whether it be monocles, whether it be other like night vision stuff, and or like even thermal scopes for that matter is what it'll be then. And yeah, I think they're gonna fuck around in the middle of the night and they're gonna find out real quick is what it is then, dude. When you have them being, getting dealt with accordingly is what it is then. So I don't know, man. Like I said, I think they just need to shut up is what it is, dude. I think they're so dumb that they're just opening a can of worms they can't close what it is, man. So and it's going to be like the old can of worms where they just come flying out at you, but it's going to be, instead of them, opening it up and just popping out like that, it's going to be them opening up towards themselves and the man shooting right in the face, basically, what it is there. So anyway. But yeah, it's definitely time for them to fuck around and find out what it is then, dude. So we can finally get this country back to square one and be more of a constitutional republic again is what it is then. That we're always meant to be, that we're created as, etc. But anyway. Fucking trains are coming through again right now. So, I do want to say this before I leave right now, because I just saw this pop up in my news feed right now. Randy Fine can go fuck himself over this specifically. We got recent thing around that. Republican congressman proposes bill to make Greenland 51st state. We don't need another fucking country being our 51st state, you fucking idiot. If anything, we need California not to be a state anymore at all, and they need another country to be the 50th state is what it is then. So, yeah, we don't need fucking Greenland as a 51st state. If anything, I would say make the meme reality at this point, which is basically just have Barron Trump marry the princess chick over there, and we just get that country by default is what it is then. So, but no, I don't know. I feel like we definitely need Greenland for various reasons, but it just all depends, man. Oh, apparently that crazy bitch, that Stacey woman, every video that she made for various political platforms was a fuck Donald Trump start out with for her intro. Like, good God, man. Like, and this is what I'm saying, dude. Like, so many of our problems right now could just be taken off the board with forced mental institutionalization of these fucking people, dude. Like, they're obviously clearly fucking mentally insane. Like, just deem them mentally insane. That number one takes away their gun rights forever because they're fucking nuts. And then number two, just lock them in a fucking rubber room is what it is, dude. Put them in a rubber room in a straitjacket someplace. Or they're just never heard from again except for the hospital staff then that's taking care of their dumbasses. So, but yeah, I would say honestly that's also a big problem with modern medicine right now too, is that we've gotten to a point where you have so much modern medicine and so many forever chemicals and so much chemical runoff from big pharmaceutical companies as it is there. That it's just turned society insane is what it is then. Because it's allowed for so many people to get so old and dementia and nuts, etc. there. And then not to mention all the psych drugs and the water supplies and stuff like that that's never filtered out properly. And then you add in all the forever chemicals in the soil and stuff like that too as well, into the food that we're eating, etc. And then, yeah, you wonder why these chicks are so insane with it then. And you wonder why these young girls are hitting puberty by the time they're like 7, 8, 9 years old instead of when they're like 12, 13, etc. It's like, yeah, it's all environmental shit, dude. And it's the same thing with all these feminized young boys too, for that matter. It's like the same chemicals that are allowing these young girls to hit puberty so much quicker. It's feminizing these young men then and causing their testosterone to go way the fuck down and causing the society of beta cuck men, basically. So, and that's before you even look at all the crap they're passing off as meat. That's just like soy-based protein crap, what it is there. And for those who don't know, a man should never eat soy at all. They should never ingest soy at all. And it's because it fucks with our testosterone and a bunch of our chemical balances, what it is there. And for women, that should only be done when they're legitimately going through menopause and stuff like that, because it would help with their hormone imbalances, what it is there. So, but unfortunately, we allow these giant, food companies that control the majority of our food supplies, what it is there, to put all this shit in our foods, what it is then, dude. Whether it be candy, whether it be, like I said, various meats and stuff like that, like specifically like your dollar store sandwiches and stuff like that. Like if you ever look at those sandwiches, they're like the microwavable ones there, like the fast breaks and stuff like that from Dollar Tree and stuff, dude. Don't eat that shit because it's not meat. It's literally soy-based shit is what it is there. It also tastes like crap too, by the way. It does not taste like chicken. It does not taste like beef because it isn't fucking beef or chicken. It's literally soy. So, but anyway, yeah, I think we're definitely heading towards a collision course of violence, basically, is what it is. And I don't know if everybody's ready for it or not, dude. I think these leftists are not ready for it for sure. Because like I said, they're going to try to. I think they're going to try to do like the first shot or whatever the case be, and it's going to be one of those situations where it's like they think they're quick enough on the draw, but in reality, there's people that are like way quicker than them, and it's going to be a gun in their face before they even get a chance to pull their own. What it is then. So, and then, like I said, when you add in the various factors of Islamic terrorism and Indian foreign nationals and Chinese foreign nationals, they're all, for their own countries first, based on what it is there. And if they would do like terroristic shit on American soil too, then like who's to say where they would fall out if that were the case? Like, I don't even think they would fall into like the left at that point. I think they would just fall into like some kind of middle ground or whatever the case be, where they would just try to attack both sides of what it is then. So, but anyway, like I said, the only time will tell. It'll be interesting to see what happens here, and I think we're definitely in for a really fucked up spring and summer this year. I hope I'm wrong about that one, but I don't know. I really want to find someplace else to go before that's what it is there, dude, because it would be nice to be out of here before all that happens, what it is then, and then be able to, be safe in the new location, what it is then. So, anyway. But, yeah, there's an event going on, I believe it is a week from this Friday, that Casey Putsch guy's running for a hot governor. He's doing some kind of coffee meet and greet in a local area that I know of. I know exactly where it's at, actually. It's not that far from here, actually. So I'm debating if I want to try and get my cousin and the two of us go down there and hang out with this dude or not. The only problem is when it's supposed to be going on, it's like right after darkness hits is what it is then. So it'd be like darkness would come in for the night, and then it would be us having to come back in the darkness. That's what it is, which not really a fan of doing that, obviously, just because of that reason. So if it was like early in the day, maybe I would think about going down there, but I don't know. I'm still debating if I want to do that or not, though. Because I would like to meet that Casey guy in person and then just have an actual discussion about a couple of things what it is then. But who knows, man. Only time will tell if that actually does happen or not then. So it also depends on exactly when everything gets done then too, because I know with the way things are right now, what it is. I was trying to look into some stuff, and unfortunately, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to go out this weekend for my mom's grave or not, because I was looking at the weather coming now, and yeah, it's gonna be a real pain in the ass, is what it is. Where we are in for some bad snowstorms on both Saturday and Sunday. So might just be me being stuck here then for a while, which kind of does suck, because I would like to go over there and do the whole thing. And if nothing else, like at least I'll be able to go there sometime in the next few weeks, a month or so maybe. So, but anyways, that being said, that's pretty much where we're at for the day, though. Hope you guys enjoyed this stream. I will be back probably tomorrow for a midweek Slicey Boy episode, because I was going to do the one on Sunday. I'll tell you what, man, my joints were hurting so bad because I hadn't taken my shot on Saturday that when I finally did take it I ended up taking it sometime Sunday afternoon is what it was, and it immediately made me feel better. And then I basically just slept the rest of the day is what it was then. So I apologize for not doing that stream, but my health comes first, my sanity comes first, and my sleep comes first is what it is before anything else. So sorry, not sorry, I guess what I'd say on that one. I gotta worry about me first, and after that, it's basically is when the streams happen. So, but yeah, I'll be back most likely tomorrow. I'll do some various fixed blade stuff, and then this coming Saturday, I will do a legitimate stream then, where we're going to talk about some various folders that I got here in the last few days, and there's supposed to be another one coming in today, actually. So I also need to find, I swear to God, I'm missing like a button locker someplace. I just don't know where I said it is right now. So need to figure out if that's like a bag here where that went to, and throw that in one of the pouches with the rest of the D2 stuff. I actually need to redeem my knife collection completely right now, because I got a bunch of stuff that's not D2 or anything like that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the D2 ones, all the Oz 10 stuff, etc., throw that in one of the knife carrier things, and then take all the rest of the stuff that's like the various MOVs, like whether it be 5, 8, 3, etc., and just throw all that stuff into a different container then. And then that way I know exactly what's what and what's where from all my folders is what it is. And then that way I can have, specifically one for one and one for the other is what it is. Then if I need to buy another one after that for other stuff, that's a different story altogether. So the problem with the ones that I got, it claims to be, I think it's like 50 something is what it claims to hold. And the issue is that it's like really hard to get them in there because of how they're like strapped in. So you basically have like whatever the top and whatever the bottom is like your main ones, and then there's like this weird like little foldy middle thing that you easily rip apart is what it is there. I don't really want to put a whole bunch in that one just because of that reason. So instead of being like a 50 something, it's really more like a 35 or 41 then. But anyway, it is what it is. So maybe I'll just try to find something a little different on Amazon and see about buying one of those. Maybe is what it is then. Still haven't found something to put on my fixed blades in now, because that would be nice to have something for that, but unfortunately that's not the case right now. So what the hell is this one? That's kind of cool. Just had a little mini pry bar thing popping in my feed here. Actually, that would be exactly what I need. I'm going to be honest with you. On my keychain right there, if I need like something for like a bottle, because it's a mix of like a bottle opener and like a pry bar thing, and it's also like a screwdriver deal. So I'm gonna have to check into that one if that be the case then. Can't tell if some of these are longer or if they're shorter or what they are. There's definitely different prices on these. Yeah, I think one's a little bit shorter than the others would be then. It's also weird to me when they say 6 and 1 on these, because it's like you can tell there's like 3-piece ones. But then what are the other things for? Oh, apparently it's a box opener. Let's see, pry bar, screwdriver, bottle cap opener, box opener. And it's showing one other thing here for like nails. Like a nail straightener almost would be then. But what the hell is the 6th thing then? Weird. Oh, it's a ruler. Okay, that makes more sense. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, do I really need to get that? That was the question. Probably not, actually. I mean, it's a cute little tool to have, but in reality, like, am I really ever going to use that for anything? And the answer is no. I'd probably be more inclined to go and buy, like, a pack of keys or something like that then. For those who don't know, you can actually buy keys on Amazon. It's like a big old key ring, and it's like every key you would need for, like, heavy machinery and stuff like that's what it is then. And, like, various municipal stuff, too, for that matter. Now, granted, you just don't get caught with those unless it's, like, actual grid down, because... You know, if you get caught with them in like everyday society, they're gonna bust you for various felonies because you would have like the ability to open doors and stuff you shouldn't be opening, so it is then. Or if it's grid down, nothing matters because there's not going to be any fucking law enforcement to enforce anything, so it is then. So that's when you just have them in like a bag that's like hidden compartment or something like that. You can just pull out or whatever then. So, but anyway. Other than that, that's all I have for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I will see you all in the next one. Peace out. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. Always be carrying, because you got some psychotic leftists trying to start some shit now is what it is. And you can't be caught slipping anymore, dude. You got to be able to deal with the threats as they come. And if they're trying to take your life, you know, you have a right to defend yourself, so it is there, especially in stand your ground states, especially in constitutional carry states. So, anyway. I will see you guys probably most likely tomorrow for a midweek Slicey Boy Saturday episode. And other than that, I will be back then on Friday for our weekly Friday stream. As long as Honda does a chat tonight, I will be on that. So hopefully there'll be a Gay Frog chat in about 10 hours or so, give or take. But if there's not, there's not. And if that be the case and there's not, then I'll just be taking a nap as it is then at that time. So if there is, I'll be on that panel, and I will be ready to discuss all the insanity of everything going on this past week as what it is then. So hope you guys enjoyed all this, and I will see y'all on the next one. Peace out. Later.